scary. Hello everybody out there.
I want to like stand up in my underwear.
The land of YouTube. Welcome to Clutter Live. We haven't done this in like how many weeks? A month?
Feels like a month.
We had a hiatus of being sick.
We had RSV.
And many other things. So yeah, we haven't done this in a while. But we're back. So we'll see who comes and watches us tonight, because this is our first one back for a while. We're live during the conversation. There you go.
Yeah.
So tonight we have John Rampage, but before that we have all the way from the UK, CZ13 in the house, and in the back room we have the mighty Tanaka. What's going on, guys?
What up? What up?
What's new? Cece, you're muted. Someone unmute Cece. There he is.
There we go.
Hi.
Hello.
I thought you were just taking the piss.
What's new, season?
Oh, look, it's nearly Christmas, right? I'm looking forward to Christmas.
Yeah.
Been doing Christmas stuff. Started watching some shit Christmas movies. Not the good ones, just to get the shit ones out of the way.
That's true. What have you watched so far?
Oh, God, what do we watch? We've watched a load of shit on Netflix, like Sugar Rush and like some dude like decorating someone's house for Christmas and stuff like that. There's a Lindsay Lohan movie where she's skiing and she's like a bit of a diva, a bitch, do you know what I mean? And then she falls off a cliff, right? Loses her memory and then falls in love with the guy who saved her. Yeah, that was good. That was fun.
Falls in love with her rapist. Who snatches no memory. She doesn't remember.
You're not allowed to say that on YouTube. We'll get that.
Oh, I'm not allowed to say that.
What else?
Shadow
Christmas with the Cranks. I've watched that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And then I've got to save the rest till Kobe gets back on Saturday. So I've just been
the good ones. You got to save the good ones.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
What's your favorite Christmas movie?
We like Jingle All the Way.
All right.
What's that?
Home Alone.
Home Alone's the best.
Yeah.
What's Jingle?
And then if you go like adult wise, Bad Santa and The Night Before with Seth Rogen, that's really good. So that's our main four.
So wait, what's Jingle All the Way?
What? Do you not know that one?
Jingle All the Way?
No.
Have
you ever seen A Christmas Story, CZ?
No. What's that?
See, there you go.
So like this kid wants he wants an action figure for Christmas, right?
Right.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger's the dad, and he's working up until Christmas, and he forgets to get the action figure. So it's him trying to battle around the city and stuff, trying to get this action figure that's like it's the sold out toy. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah,
so it is an American movie, but it's a Schwarzenegger movie, and it's just a movie I haven't seen.
Yeah.
We have movies that for some reason that are like really classic American movies that just didn't translate over to England, like A Christmas Story.
Okay.
And it's very American.
And then
that could just be me that hasn't seen it. But
no.
It's
super like Americana.
Jingle All the Way.
It barely makes it's all full of American tropes. And then the other one that I discovered that no one, maybe you have seen it, CZ, but the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer stop motion.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I know of it. Yeah. It's not a religious one I watched, but I've seen it like ages ago, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So you have seen it because Miranda still hasn't seen it. We're gonna have a viewing party.
Hello, Ace Grundy. Welcome.
We're gonna have
Jingle All the Way. Let's go.
We're gonna watch Jingle All the Way
because Frank hasn't seen it either.
Oh,
which
Rudolph?
Is crazy. Yeah.
Well, that's because he was
religious. They weren't allowed to watch these kinds of movies.
What's your favorite Christmas movie, Tanaka?
Yo, I mean Gremlins. Come on.
Gremlins, yeah.
And like everybody's like, oh, Die Hard, but not
Die Hard. No,
movie. Die Hard's my movie.
No, Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I don't care what you say. It's just set at Christmas.
It is here for me. Like, yeah, we watch it every time.
Yeah.
But for me, though, the other day I was thinking, like, has anybody done a drum and bass album called Jungle All the Way? Because, like, I feel like that would be a fucking hit, you know?
Alf is the best Christmas movie.
Alf?
Elf, not Alf.
Elf?
Yo,
Elf
is the number one. Elf is just...
Do you know what, right? I put Elf on, right? And I feel the same until I put it on, and then I'm just like, oh, fuck. I don't know. It's about it. Yeah, I guess so. Like, yeah.
Is
But
it
it
because
is.
the kids aren't little?
It's up there.
Is it because the kids aren't little anymore, CZ?
Nah. We all gel together like little kids or adults. You know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it is a good one.
We tried to watch Gremlins with the kids a few years ago, and it was going well until they like try and murder the mom in the kitchen, and we're like, "Whoa, this is way worse than we remember," and turned it off.
Yeah.
Oh man, but that mom murks those fucking gremlins though, like in the most badass way.
80s were different. The 80s were different. It was fine in the 80s to watch.
So your mom is willing to fucking kill. Like that is the 80s.
Yeah. The other movie that we had to turn off like that was the Never-Ending Story, when the horse
quite
in the swamp.
Yeah.
And the girls just started to cry.
Yeah.
Because they're like the horse, and I was like, who gives a shit about the horse?
Yeah.
That ruined me for life.
It's really sad. Yeah. It's fucked up.
I wanted to unbox something tonight, if that's okay with everybody.
Do you want to wait till we bring?
No, because he doesn't care. He can just watch from the back. I want to hear his comments.
But I think he could fully join in and just shitting on your toy.
Wait, can I hear about this fucking barbarian helmet though? This fucking candy.
Okay. Oh, it's all right. Let's do that first.
All right, let's do this. So this is my SantaCon helmet.
It's about 12, 13 years old.
Yes.
14 years old. Almost.
Back from when I would do SantaCon, and I did SantaCon several times before I met Miranda.
Hang on, let me just tell you, if you're not from New York, you don't know what SantaCon is. So in New York City, near Christmas, they do this giant thing called SantaCon, where everybody dresses up as Santa, and you take over the city, and it's like they'll text you and tell you what bar everybody's going to. And so all the Santas will take over bars and have fun. And it used to be fun, and then it got overrun, and now it's like a crazy fucked up thing that you don't want to go to.
Probably.
12 years ago, it was still good.
It was still really good. And you would get the text message, like the text would come in, Santa's on the move.
Yeah.
And then it would tell you what bar to go to. And you just have like 1,000 people just like go.
That sounds fun.
Santas. Yeah, it was awesome.
I mean, if you're not fucking participating in this, is a total fucking shit show. It is like the worst thing you want to get caught up in.
But it's true. But it wasn't then. It was great.
But
then.
Tanaka, you'd be perfect as a Santa.
Oh man, yeah, I think I'm a product of Santa.
Yeah,
like, I don't know what that means. Like,
did you ever do it, Alex? Did you ever do SantaCon?
Wait, no, I got that wrong. No, fuck no. Look at me, I'm normal.
Oh, that's what's wrong with you. Well, anyway.
So wait, before Miranda showed up, my experience going to SantaCon was like, I would go and I'd buy like a bottle of Hennessy and a bottle of Jaeger, and I would just have my pants, and I'd just get blackout drunk. You know, photos of us like passed out cold at 2 a.m. in Union Square, just fucked. So that was my experience. Was we went hard. Then I met Miranda. And
you spent like 2 weeks before we went SantaCon lecturing me on how I had to pace myself so that it wasn't a lightweight, and I couldn't let the side down and have to go home early because I was too drunk.
That's right.
So you lectured me and lectured me and lectured me.
Yes.
So we got dressed up as Santas, and I was like a sexy Santa.
You needed that lecture.
Yeah, I needed that lecture.
You did.
So we went out, right? And before we went to SantaCon, we went to Tristan Eaton's studio. He had a studio called Thunderdog, and he threw a Christmas party.
And he had a buffet.
He had a buffet, yes. So we went there first, and we drank and we ate.
We did more than drink and eat.
That's fine, but that's Thunderdog. And then we went on the SantaCon prowl, and then we had a bar at the time.
Yes.
On 37th, 29th, and 9th called Concrete.
Yes.
And Jonathan Levine used to use that as his after party. So he had like a bottle of Hennessy there that was his bottle.
No, it was Johnny Walker Blue.
Oh, yeah, Johnny Walker, not Hennessy. And so he would bring whoever he had on.
What's up, Jonathan?
Display at his gallery that evening to the bar. So after we'd done SantaCon for a while, we got the heads up that Jonathan was on the move to the bar, so we went there.
Yes, we got the text message. Jonathan's
on the move. Yeah. So you were already wasted by this point. By the time we got to Concrete, you were already like falling down drunk. So he brought the London police to the bar. I served them dressed as sexy Mrs. Claus with like a fully blonde wig and awesomeness. And then you proceeded to just like start throwing up and passing out. So we had to go home.
Because I ate too much. My belly was too full, and then alcohol, it was just a bad scene.
See, Ho remembers Concrete, exactly.
What's up, Ho?
Sam, you came back and visited.
Yeah.
Cole, we miss you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bring the
concrete
fam.
was fun. It's a shame we still don't have that bar, but that's
Well,
life.
having a bar is a problem.
It is.
It's like you have to be there every day, every night till 4 a.m. Although most bars aren't open till 4 a.m. anymore, right? Because of the pandemic.
Bro, you two can have a bar. Like the last time I come over, it's like one drink, and now it's like we got.
You are now we're parents, but back in the day,
Yeah.
we used to have a bar.
You know, I have
a bad
responsibilities
idea.
and shit.
Can I also tell you how much I love this cup? It's spiky and it's green, and it makes me so happy.
This is how you know she's all grown up. Is Starbucks cups make her happy?
Favorite
Yeah.
Starbucks cup.
Nice.
It's
It's
a nice
really
cup.
nice, and
a
it's
nice
like
cup.
so spiky. And you think it would be not very nice to hold, but actually, it's very nice in your hand, right, Alex? You just picked it up.
It
You're
is.
like, oh.
I like
You
it
should
when
do a toy tank about this cup.
Wait, okay, yeah, fucking absolutely. I'll sing to that song.
Why is this one flipped compared to that one?
I don't know. I was on a whatever.
So can I open my toy now?
Can we talk about Coolio?
Yo, what about Coolio?
We don't talk about Coolio.
Can you sing the "We Don't Talk About Coolio" song?
Wait, what's it? How's it go? Coolio.
We
don't talk about
Coolio.
Yeah. Fucking, I don't know. I never heard that song, but like we should not talk about Coolio because that was a fucking sore point, and it's nearly Christmas, and that motherfucker's up above.
Yes, but wait. First of all, I don't think you should open the toy without John.
John,
And-
I can see him in the backstage. Not if you want me to bring you on when I open my toy, or say no if you don't want me to. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So, but the one thing I'll say is before we bring on John, back to the Coolio thing, I had this idea before we got sick. So this idea is a month old. So I don't know if it's probably still a bad idea, but maybe it's a good idea now. I'll just float
You're
it
not
again.
allowed to just say ideas. Because...
We should start a GoFundMe fundraiser, something around Clutter Live to raise money to have Alex get an "I Killed Coolio" tattoo.
That's permanent, but also funny. So,
and it would be in the shape of like an orange soda bottle.
No, it's to be that pizza mic or whatever.
Oh yeah, the pizza could be the shape.
Oh
of
man.
mic. And so I think we should put up like a what do you call it? One of those like vote things on Instagram. To
Oh my god!
We should have a fundraiser to get a tattoo for Alex because Alex is covered in terrible tattoos.
What? No, they are all fucking.
You have a
Well,
worst
they're okay.
He has some good tattoos.
But
I'm not saying he doesn't have some good tattoos, but he's covered in the worst tattoos.
Yeah, but Debbie, I know you're watching this, so Mom, like, I know that that's going to be a solid no vote, but at the same time, like, that's just one vote. So let's see what else happens.
You should get a tattoo that
That's
says
just my
Debbie
mom.
says no.
Yeah, Debbie says no. Oh my God, she would love that tattoo.
We should do like a monthly thing where we get you tattoos. All right.
All right,
So without
yeah.
further ado, let's bring on
The king of Safubi, one of the kings of Safubi. What do you want to call him?
the
What do you want to give him?
infamous overlord of Safubi,
Oh, Overlord, Safubi Overlord.
Yes.
It's not going to appreciate
John
it.
Rampage.
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh, welcome,
up?
John Rampage.
I don't know about those.
Moniker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
none of that.
Miranda wants
I'm
to
going to
stay
open my
center stage
toy.
though. She's
Coming
gonna
back on.
We're just having
producer.
John in the. Let's have
Put
John
him
in the
small
peanut
for a
gallery.
minute.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So
Welcome,
I'm gonna before we talk to John Rampage about toys and life and Japan and all kinds of fun stuff. I ordered this toy like 2 years ago from
Mighty Jacks.
from Sideshow Toys, but
Okay.
it is a Mighty Jacks product, so it was okay. I knew it was going to be a long pre-order. It's fine, and you know we know about production issues. So
This is the one? You've been telling me about this for fucking years.
yeah,
2
it
years?
arrived. Yeah, 2 years.
Okay.
Which is okay. I'm excited because it's a difficult figure. So the reason why I bought it was because it was so complicated. I wanted to see how it was put together.
Can I help you take it out of the box?
Yeah, probably. So if it's broken, this is a terrible idea because I actually haven't opened this yet.
This is
At
a
all.
real unboxing.
This is
Oh,
a
sure.
real-
No, you know it's broken, and you're just queuing everybody up and be like, "Oh,
No, this is Matt Bailey's "Keep Me in Your Heart" Spectra Edition,
Cool.
produced by
Mighty Jacks.
Mighty Jacks. Here it is in all its
All right.
glory.
Nice.
Very nice. Very
You
nice.
hold it up to the camera. I just want to see that picture. Oh, that is fucking ill.
what is it?"
That is it. It is a resin figure.
It looks like a skeleton with some testicles underneath of it.
Yeah, close. So here's a little MyJack certificate for authenticity. This is something
It's a
about
QR
verified.
code to get your Bitcoin.
To get verified.
Because, my tax is on the...
So it's got a little lighter.
Okay. So far it comes with a lighter.
So far it comes with a lighter. This is exciting. All right. Let's see.
Oh my God. I could break this in
Don't
2 seconds.
break it. Okay,
It's not
here we
your
go.
toy,
Here we go.
Josh.
No, this is my toy. So I think it needs some assembly. It does.
Oh, someone's falling off.
It does. So I'm taking it's packed with foam.
And this is resin?
This is resin.
Are you sure it's resin?
No.
Okay. Because
Yes.
I'm looking at it and I don't think
It
it's
looks
resin.
like this is 3D printed. Right?
Are you sure it's not injection molded?
No. It's supposed to be resin.
That is not resin.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I've got to put its head on. Hang on.
Little boobies.
A little booby action. So that's interesting. Its arms come separately. So it's a naked lady being straddled by a skeleton.
Hot.
Huh.
So
This is not resin.
what is it then?
This is injection mold. I'll give you that the girl, the internal female is resin.
Let's call Jackson.
I don't.
Was it advertised as
This
resin?
is not resin.
Why?
I'm calling bullshit.
This has a magnet in it. Oh, look at that.
All right.
If you ask me, the skeleton's head's too small.
Skeleton's head is definitely too small. Look at the size of the skeleton head to the what do you call these things? Ribs.
Can I put his arms together?
Yeah. I mean, if they cast her arms separate and glued them on and then bondoed it, yeah.
Let's see. Hang on.
We should just do resin critique
No.
every once a week. Just critique other people's resin.
Okay, now
No, there's too much gold in that field.
and then you peel this little verification thing. So she's not on her boob anymore. Okay, everybody. I didn't realize this was going to take so much assembly,
Yeah.
but there you go. Okay, here it is.
It's a miniature head with a skeleton body.
There
And
you go.
Oh, he's lighting her cigarette. I see.
it's
Yeah.
her head inside of his ribs.
Yes,
But why is the skeleton head so small?
because the arms are really big on the skeleton. The proportions of the skeleton are all wacko because it's got really long legs too.
The head
It's
should be
supposed
like
to
twice as big.
Anyway, it's a really cool
It's really
figure.
cool.
It's art, isn't it? It doesn't have
Yeah.
to look like a fucking skeleton.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's
I-
really cool.
all those can bots are just way out of proportion as far
I
as
know, right? That-
Well, it's super complex.
Okay.
And that's what I found interesting about it.
Is there anything injection molded?
Yes, probably.
Yeah, that
I
doesn't
don't
feel
know.
like
We're not
resin.
sure. It's cool. It's cool. So anyway, I just wanted to do
We can
that.
drop it on the ground and see if it bounces.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's cool.
I don't have anything really to say about it. It's neither great or awful.
Well, it's not really your genre. Here's certificate of authenticity. This figure has been, let's see. Oh, look.
This is a real thing that was made in a factory.
Yeah. And that's that.
You could have like a how-to order something from a factory.
Can you pass me the box lid? So that was fun. I think that's a cool figure.
It's cool.
It says on the side of the box. Oh no, it says heart. I thought it said art.
No.
Like just so you knew.
Like, it's this
Just
box
so you
here.
knew. Oh, I'm reading it. All right, you can take it now. Thank you. So there you go. His head is way too small.
Yeah. We should write a letter to Mighty Jacks.
Well, I'm still enjoying it as a figure.
All right.
She has a cigarette. How did that not break in her mouth? Wow. Because that's a piece of plastic.
No one can see what you're looking at, Miranda.
I'm just enjoying
Yeah.
myself.
I know. I can tell.
I'm not
Okay.
getting my head around here to try and see what's down there. But
And without further ado, John Rampage.
Now we're gonna bring John Rampage in.
There you go. Yeah.
Yay!
Hey,
All right,
What's up, man?
for those of
I
you
don't
who
like
don't
it.
know,
is there any way to have me there for everybody except me?
no, this is John Rampage, aka Rampage Toys.
It's not his real last name.
No, I know.
I'm just telling our viewers.
It would be cool if your real last name was Rampage, though. You should probably change it to Rampage.
Everyone just calls me Rampage of their own accord. I never really asked for that. So.
Well, oh, Dangerbot can't come and watch the stream live. He has to watch on Instagram. We're sad to not see your comments.
Okay.
It's okay.
So, how did Rampage come about then?
Well, the name is, I guess, based on the Nintendo game with the
Rampage.
monsters that climb up the building and.
I've got it over there.
Yeah.
Was it Nintendo or was it a booth? What do you call it?
No, it was Nintendo. I mean, I had it on Nintendo.
I've only ever played it on the
Midway made it.
Midway. There you go.
Yeah.
Sure, I'm not a video game connoisseur at all, but so I don't exactly know why I ended up using that moniker, but here I am.
Wait, which one did you play though? Were you the dragon or like the Godzilla, the Wolf Man, the King Kong?
I like the wolf guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Because you like to savage people.
You look like the Wolfman, that's why.
You're not going to get too much out of me. I had to be reminded that there was a wolf guy, and you listed the three that there were, and I was like, I guess I like the wolf guy.
Fair enough.
So you are best known for making Sofubi
Sofubi.
based figures, and you lived a long time in Japan, but you started life in America.
Right,
So-
in Seattle. Well, I didn't start life in Seattle, but that's where I started doing any of this creative stuff. Yeah.
So how did you find out about toys? What's your toy story?
I was given a toy for a Christmas present. It was I don't remember, some designer toy thing that was purchased at Sonic Boom Records in Ballard in Seattle.
Okay.
They used to sell, Dunnies and like ice bots and whatever, Kid Robot stuff, basically.
Yeah.
And, they had a book there that was like designer toys, and so I was like leafing through it. These are really cool. So that day I went to the art store and bought resin because I was like, oh, I guess you can just make this stuff. So it was like maybe like 1 week after seeing that this existed as a medium or thing people were doing. I mean, there's already a book at the time, so like it wasn't like super new on the scene, but it was before 2008 and the whole bubble thing. So I think people were still like just consuming.
Yeah.
There were thousands of different things, like Smork and Labbits and like all these little designer toy shops that were up on the West Coast, especially in like San Francisco and Portland. There was one in Seattle at that time too. Was it called Schmancy? I think it was called. But in any case, I went to like some signings and I started painting all the little custom toy things, and that's how I got exposed to it basically. So
you did start painting.
I'm no longer into was really what got me into it. So,
but you did start by painting Dunnies and
I did some of that, yeah. But I mean, primarily I was casting resin. Like Benny Tenacious Toys would invite me to do custom Dunny shows, and I did a few of them. Or I think keys were a thing at the time.
Yeah.
Like 2009, 2008, 2009, 2010. My first event was New York Comic Con in 2009, I think, and I had my little resin cupcake guy, and which was much more badly produced than that skeleton thing you just.
I don't know if I've ever seen your resin.
I have a few of them. I can give you one. Yeah, sure.
Still floating around.
You want some like?
I don't think I knew that part. But what were you doing before toys?
I painted like Warhammer models.
Nice.
But that was hobby wise.
Yeah.
That's where I learned to paint, I guess. But I was a map maker for Noah. So I did
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to school for paleontology.
Wow. Wow.
That's
I was
awesome.
gonna be that guy. I was gonna be that Ross guy in Friends. Yeah. I was gonna be dating Jennifer Aniston.
Was that your life plan?
No, I never watched that show until just like a year ago. And then suddenly, I was like, let's watch Friends.
Oh, it wasn't like you saw Friends and you're like, I want to replicate that.
No, I'd never really watched the show. No.
Okay, good. That's
No,
good.
but I'm serious. I never
I'll
watched
like
it.
knock you down a peg.
What's that? Sorry, Jack's back. The dog. But no, he's in. Oh, he just got locked in. Okay, what's up? Jack, come here.
It's not a cat.
It's usually cats.
Yeah.
Oh no, hey. No, I have a pit bull. He's very different from a cat.
Good.
He doesn't want to be in here. He's trying to get out. Hold on a second.
Let him out.
Let him out.
Let him out. It's
Nice.
very nice
You need to be
little
in here.
plants and toys.
We haven't been to them yet.
No.
Great.
Okay.
It's like a great little selection there.
First show where we've lost control of the
Yeah.
guest. Rampage is always breaking ground.
There you go.
He's this guy.
Oh,
Oh,
beauty.
Where'd I go? Oh, here. I'm over here.
there you are.
Yeah.
So when and why were you got another question?
Well, I just want to say it's.
I mean, that's the whole story. Can we
No,
just
and that's
I have dinner to eat? Can we
so
go
you
now?
went from school to hang out in Seattle. You went to school. You were working for
No.
Noah. You found out about toys, and you
Oh,
jumped.
no, that's not the whole story. I mean, like,
All right.
really, people don't give a shit about my life prior to this thing, isn't? I mean, do they really?
We do. We
I went
do.
to school for paleontology. I hated academia.
Yeah.
I worked in a climbing gym for 3 years in Seattle.
Yeah.
I decided that I was being a lazy bastard, not doing anything with my education, and I got a job, a real job, and I made enough money to quit my real job and try and make money doing something that wasn't profitable at all, and decided that I was 27 at the time when I started making resin figures, and I was like, well, whatever. And if it doesn't work out, I'll just get another shitty real job. And yeah, so yeah, not like a lot of people are just like, oh, I've got a bunch of money, I'm gonna make a toy because I can make a toy. No, it was like I'm gonna try this as a career, and if it works out, that'd be awesome. But I had no expectations that I would buy a house with money from selling toys or anything like that. I thought I would just be like living in a tent
In the mountains.
But it's really
Climbing
interesting
rocks.
to us because we've had so many people on this show who came up through toy companies.
Yeah.
We didn't go to we never worked in a real quote unquote toy company, and you never did either. You came up completely on your own.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, did you work for Hasbro?
No.
You might have.
No. So when did you decide to move to Japan, and how did that?
Well,
all
wait,
come
you've
about?
jumped a whole part of his story. How did you go from resin to Safubu?
I joined Skullbrain. I joined Skullbrain back when it was cool to just talk shit all the time, and it was like acceptable to just be super critical of everything, and nobody gave a crap.
Oh, was it acceptable?
It did. They're not with us anymore. I don't know, but
hang on, pause. For those of you who don't know, Skullbrain was Super 7's forum, and it was terrifying. It was terrifying. It was the craziest, most aggressive.
Hold on. The first forum I joined was Buona Spoon's Grass Hut forum.
All right.
Nice.
And on the Buona Spoon's Grass Hut forum, which doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately, because people generally who like Buona are super nice and super cool. Yes. They were like, well, if you want a bigger audience, I think I asked the question like, well, how do I get people to see what I'm making? And they're like, you should join Skullbrain. So I joined Skullbrain, and like some of the people who were like super like, man, I'm a dickhead on the internet. Yeah. And they were like buying my stuff. That was, pretty much garbage. just not garbage, but it was so just whatever I felt like doing and figuring it out. I don't know where any of that stuff is now, but like somebody owns it.
Yeah.
Right. So they were buying resins that you were making.
Right. Yeah, there was a whole resin forum on that forum. So anyway, go ahead and finish explaining the terrifying aspects.
Well, no, I think there was one time that we posted on Skullbrain. What was that for? I don't remember.
We did a Skullbrain show here.
Yes, we did, but before that, we had to.
Yeah, and I made a dunny that said kaiju on the belly.
Around here still.
Did it say kaiju or did it say gaijin?
Kaiju.
It said kaiju on it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was tongue in cheek for anybody who didn't pick that already.
Skullbrain was just terrifying. Kid Robot's forum was terrifying, but Skullbrain's was next level.
Forums. I mean, people just feel like they can say whatever they want to say, and they don't. Their face isn't there, So then you see them in public at an event, and they're just like, I
can't talk. Yeah.
Like I told you, you were a piece of shit on a forum, and you should stop making toys.
Yeah.
Oh, that happens plenty. Yeah. But you should be able to say it in person too. Or if you're just like genuinely just like that into the internet, like shit talking thing, then you should be able to have a conversation with the person anyway.
Yeah.
And just say, yeah, I know I said that online, but it's just online.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's John.
My stupid persona.
Yeah, let's put that aside and like have a real conversation, because that's just a bunch of bullshit.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So then what happened? You found Skullbrain. And
then I went to Buana's shop in Portland, the second iteration of Grass Hut.
Yeah.
I tried to go to the first iteration of Grass Hut, but when I got to Portland that day was the day after his closing party for the original Grass Hut.
Oh, that's
so I found him actually. He was at this other event. And I was like, I went to your shop. And he's like, yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. So then I eventually went to the second iteration of Grass Hut he was releasing a new toy, and I think it was my birthday that year, and went down there from Seattle and talked to him a bit about how to make toys, and he recommended I get in touch with Velocitron.
Yes.
Who, if anybody has background in this sort of stuff, knows the long saga of Velocitron's disappearance. And I mean, he kind of like was there but never really there, because he had his own life going on. And
you're jumping. Wait.
No,
before,
how is it jumping?
Because you. How did you know you wanted to go from resin to Sotheby? Is that because that's what Buana was making?
Buana, Grumble Toy.
You started to vibe on that.
The aesthetic.
That aesthetic.
And also I was on Skullbrain, and I was looking at all the different things, and
so you're getting educated through this scene.
Yeah.
And
this was like 2009, 2000. Yeah, like 2008, 2009, 2010. So I moved to Japan in 2011. So
is that the year that I interviewed you? Were you living in Japan?
Yeah, that was 2012, I think.
2012. Okay.
Easy's bored. Like he's walking away.
Just like,
going.
He's drinking that tall glass of water.
So they connected you with Velocitron, and so for people who don't know, Velocitron.
No. That's not exactly. So
okay, all right.
Buana suggested I talk to Velocitron. So in those days, you could email Velocitron, whatever,
at
unicornkidkaiju@gmail.com or whatever it was. Let me look it up. Actually, I can tell everybody's email and be like, I want to make a Sotheby toy.
Yeah,
and and I was that guy then. I can afford to do this, but there was I was moving to Japan. It was on the horizon to move to Japan.
You already wanted to move to Japan before?
No, it was already planned before I even contacted Ricky.
Oh.
Why were you,
Ricky?
So you just doxed Velocitron by telling everyone his name is Ricky.
Everyone knows.
I know. Everyone knows his name's Ricky.
I know.
Yeah.
Is anybody even watching? I can't tell. Is there?
They're out there.
If you're out there, comment in the chat.
There's a zillion people on Instagram watching right now.
Oh,
hey,
really?
if you're on Instagram, go to youtube.com/Clutter Magazine, and you can look at everybody
I
else.
put the link up like 3 times. I don't know if anybody.
Don't worry about it.
So when
This
if
lives
this will live
forever.
forever,
Yeah.
yo to the replay crew. Yeah.
I'm immortal.
So why were you moving to Japan?
Well, it's kind of sticky. I mean, my ex-wife was a teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got a spouse visa to go to Japan.
Okay.
She got a teaching job.
So it's sort of like just
Hey,
almost
Lewis.
randomly you were planning on moving to Japan, and then it just so happened that the toys you were into were also in Japan.
Yeah, well, I mean, Japan was of interest. I lived in Seattle, and I climbed with a bunch of Japanese dudes.
Right.
And those Japanese dudes were moving back home to Japan, and one of them had already moved back, and I went to visit him and did a whole ton of the toy stuff, like the Nakano Broadway, and I just showed up at Devil Robot's office. I thought their address was on their website, so I just went to the address.
Yeah.
Knocked on the door. You know, I went like third floor on some elevator. The elevator had a little like placard, metal placard, said Devil Robots. I'm like, we're in the right place. So I just like knocked on the door on the third floor, and the guy opens the door. He's like, "Do you have an appointment?" It's like, "Do I need an appointment?" He's like, "Well, hold on a second." And he sits us down in this seating area that's just walls of toys, mass produced, Medicom, Tofu, Evil Robots, Evil Rob, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And all these things that I'm just like, wow, this is so cool. And Shin, the guy who's still the head of Devil Robots, even though it used to be like a design collaborative, there were a bunch of guys in an office. It's just him now, I think. But anyway, he comes out and he's like, how's it going? And he's got a translator. His translator was a super cool guy. He went on to work for NHA, the Japanese broadcasting company. So he quit Devil Robots to get like a real job. But he was super cool, and they told me like where to go to buy toys, and they told me like, well, actually, we don't really like host just people to come in and look at this stuff, but you just showed up, and this happens like once a year. Somebody just shows up because the address is on the website. Right. They were so nice, and they told us where to go get like cream puffs and eat ramen nearby, and where to go shopping, and it was just so fucking cool.
That's awesome. And you couldn't speak Japanese yet?
Not at all. No, I didn't know Japanese until like a year. I mean, I didn't know any Japanese when I moved to Japan, and then I quickly realized that wasn't going to work. Oh. You know, I'm like, oh, I want to talk to you, and they'd be like, oh. Like, oh shit. But I mean, everyone's super polite there, and it's just like it's a FaceTime culture. If you don't interact face to face with somebody, you can fucking forget ever working with them. And people don't get that. People are just like, I want to do your toy collaboration, please. And Jack, what the fuck are you doing? Sorry, the dog just went under the rolling chair somehow. He's on the other side. He's gonna spill my beer. But anyway, yeah, Japan's just like. So I ended up working with Shin, with Devil Robots later on a project, and a lot of other people because of that initial interaction. So that was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that story, that's before you moved to Japan.
Yeah.
That was a year and a half or 2 years before I moved to Japan.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, maybe I'm just like off on a tangent here.
So it's okay. So all roads were just leading to Japan for you.
Yeah, I mean, there was my friends, a bunch of climbers from Japan who lived in Seattle. One was in school at University of Washington. Another one's an oceanographer. He was working at University of Washington, and there are people that I'm still super close with, and I stay with them when I go over there. The house I ended up renting in Tokyo, where I ran Rampage Studios, the shop gallery that I did, was the house that belongs to the one friend of mine who was one of my closest friends in Seattle. So
I've heard about this apartment. I heard that it was an amazing apartment and that you were super lucky. And people.
It was a straight up. It was a house. It was a
house,
standalone house standing in front of a temple. You know, in a row of like single family homes. Yeah, $600 a month.
Awesome.
That's everything. That's like, your heating oil, your electric, everything. Like,
so the fact that you had this house allowed you to actually have a gallery in Japan, and
no house, no Rampage toys, no joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was like you
Yeah.
kind of lucked out into a situation.
Yeah. No, I really want to put together like a photo book. So I had openings there from everybody, like Japanese artists, American artists. Like it was bonkers, and we just sat around the living room eating pizza, and there's pictures of toys that I sold there that people are now buying for like 13-15 grand. I sold them for like $200, you know, and at the time I was like, oh, I should keep one of these. Like, oh no, I could use the $200.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing.
did you make a toy in Japan before you moved?
The prototype for the ugly unicorn,
Yeah.
was sent to Velocitron. This is painted by Blobpuss.
Right on.
And he did this for a show at my house, actually.
Is that an OG?
So
Yeah.
this is the original ugly unicorn.
Yeah.
The clay sculpt for this was sent to Velocitron a few months, or maybe 4 months before I moved to Japan.
Okay.
So I got to Japan a month and a half before the fall super festival. We used to be twice a year. Now they have a ton of super festivals. But it was September Super Festival where I debuted this toy in red and yellow vinyl, and I sold exactly one.
Nice.
To Corey Privatera, who is Science Patrols.
Yes.
He bought one. It was a pity buy.
Oh,
So Corey was already there?
yeah.
Corey was on vacation in Japan for 3 months.
Oh.
He wasn't living there yet. No, he and I met through Datadub Dawn.
Yep.
Shout out, Don.
The first time I met Dawn, Corey was also there. I'm like, oh, I thought we were hanging out. He's like, no, I invited this guy too. He's, they connected through Skullbrain,
Right.
just like Dawn and I connected through Skullbrain.
Mhm.
And so I was in Tokyo, and Dawn and Corey and I went to a T9G show at this like cool like fashion-y shop that had a bunch of like vintage stuff and clothing and new T9G sculpts that were $150. I'm like, oh my god, who spends $150 on a toy? And I spilled beer, and I didn't speak any Japanese, and Corey didn't speak any Japanese, but he like made good with the owner of the shop. He apologized for me. And then I met Blobpuss at that show too, and I just gotten to Japan and was like, oh, you're Blobpuss, Kaji, and he was like super nice, and I was like, oh, maybe I have a toy. I had one of them in my hand, and he was like, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, this is a toy I just got. I'm making this now, and he was like, oh, yeah, and I was like, oh, maybe. And he was like, oh. and Don jumps in. He's like, he's just stupid. Don't worry about him.
So what was that the reaction to you being an American making toys?
It wasn't a common thing. I mean, like Ricky and Luke, Lulabelle, Luke were the Westerners there doing stuff at the time. And there was Galaxy people, Brian, but he was just doing resin. I met him at the first Super Festival. Actually, we boothed together at the next Super Festival. We became close friends. We still are. He's awesome.
Yeah.
There were like the Vanity Vinyl people in the States who were like sending things over that were just total shit and getting it made, and they'd make one toy and disappear. There was that sort of thing happening. But in terms of people living there, there was Ricky, and who had been doing his like horror toy thing, and there was Luke, who had just started. He had just released the two like Oji-san, Kawakuri, whatever, the little like nugget dudes of his original Guru Shogun line. It just come out when I got there at the previous Wonder Festival that summer. So it was like, it wasn't a thing to like be a Westerner there, but there was no stigma about it. It was just like, this is what it was.
But there was a handful of you and you all knew each other.
I have to pee. Never.
Yeah, I mean, I was friends with Ricky. You know, we hung out, we had some like meals together and stuff. But like he was pretty well consumed with, you know, making stuff for all these different people.
Yeah.
So, and also I didn't live in Tokyo for the first year. That's the other thing. Like, I lived in northern Japan for the first year,
Right.
and it was like an 8-hour overnight train ride in like a sleeper car.
Whoa.
To get to Tokyo, and I was doing shows in Tokyo, and like all the money I had made, if I made any, was just paying for the train ticket basically at the time.
Right.
And like, you know, I'd stand in front of all the, like the Real Head booth, you know, and his toys were like $80 for a standard size figure, and I'm like, oh, I can't afford that. Or like Ilu's toys, they didn't sell out the first couple shows he did.
Crazy.
And, you know, and I would just be like, oh, these are kind of cool, and I'd be like at his booth, like kind of chatting with him, but with 5 words in Japanese.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh, cool. He's like, oh, arigato. And you know, they're super nice, but well, there's Jack. Let's see. Oh,
he's very pretty. He's prettier in person than the photos.
Anyway,
Nice.
he's a lover. What were we talking about?
You were living in Tokyo. No, you were living in the north. You were living
Right, yeah, and doing the shows in
this
Tokyo.
is before the house.
Yeah. I moved to Tokyo the second year.
Right.
My friend Ryu, his aunt was living in that house, and then she moved somewhere. I don't know, maybe like Europe or something with her husband. He was European, and they did like weird, fucked up metal sculpture art. The house was a mess when I moved into that house. Anyway, Ryu and my ex-wife, they cleaned it up, and I got there, and I just had to do like the studio and help with the kitchen and stuff like that. But it was cool. It was just like, you know, the tiniest house. I think it must have been like 700 square feet.
Yeah.
It was a standalone structure, like old for Tokyo standards, like 1940s, like after the war.
Wow. Right.
Showa era, they call it. But the you know, tatami mat floors, and just like low doorways, and just low enough where I didn't know they were too low for me to go through, and I walked into them all the time.
Right.
And I couldn't wear a hat, you know, so like I'm here and the doorway is here, and I just walked in them all the time.
Right.
But
so some more like broad questions for you. Obviously we're friends, and so this is all super interesting to go deep, but like, what was the culture shock like in Japan for you? And also, is the perception of toys, designer toys, different in Japan than it is in the States?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it was maybe just a couple of years before I moved there that the idea of somebody painting somebody else's toy was even a valid idea. You know, if you were making something, you made it, and and nobody else was involved.
Right.
Whether you were making mass-produced stuff, and it was produced by Medicom, who were still relatively new at that time,
right?
Or you were making sofubi, you know, licensed characters, or your own designs. You made the figure. Generally, like most Japanese dudes, they sculpt it, they do the wax prototype themselves, they do the joints themselves, and they take it to the factory. Like that's kind of like the typical thing to do. You don't just like say, oh, I've got a design, and send it to somebody to make it for you. But so it was just like really recent that, you know, this thing that we think of as normal, like, oh, I have this thing and all these other people are going to make it, you know, their thing or do their take on it. It didn't happen.
So the designer toy scene kind of happened in Japan at the same time it happened here.
Yeah, but the designer toys that Americans liked then, they were never super popular. Dunnies were never popular in Japan.
No, but the way that we collect and the way that you're saying we're
Oh well, like Japan's got like the machines everywhere. You put your money in and you turn the thing and you get a toy out, and like there's millions of different designs in that realm. That's been happening way before we had blind boxes or companies that were making designer toys in the States. Maybe they're like the little like niche shops like what's the UG what's the name of the shop, the Japanese grocer in the States in a few big cities. But anyway, you could get some of like the Japanese stuff at those shops here, but like we didn't have that sort of stuff. We don't have that culture of that. We've got like stupid like gumball machine toys that really aren't that interesting.
Yeah, they had a bigger collecting culture than we
did. Yeah, definitely.
No, but what I'm saying is that you're saying that in Japan it wasn't a thing for people to be painting other people's toys, so it's kind of like that developed around the same time that it developed here.
I don't know. Did it develop here?
People painting other stuff and trading and swapping.
Like customizing, you mean?
Customizing.
Yeah, I mean it developed differently.
Yeah.
I guess it's sort of they're not really comparable. I think, like today I painted some of Buona's toys and sold them, and if when Buona was making his toys through Gargamel, and I don't think anybody would have ever asked Buona, hey, can I paint a run of Killers back in 2008? It would have been another question, and it would have never happened. Maybe Kyoka painted Killers because he made them for Buona, but it was just a different world.
Right.
But
I think so. I think some American artists still hit that wall of painting somebody else's toy and just being like, well, I bought this toy and I just painted it, and that's okay. And getting feedback from some Japanese artists that like, oh, well, that's not okay.
Yeah,
and
there's plenty of that.
Shocked. Yeah,
no, I mean, like I got in trouble at my second Super Festival because I had bought like a blank Woo, like M1 Go Woo figure, and painted it, and I put it on the table, and Ilanena, he's not really making toys anymore at all. But
is that how you say his name?
Ilanena.
Yeah.
Iranena.
Yeah.
He was at my booth with me. He's like, oh, you cannot sell this. And I was like, well, why not? He was like, it's he couldn't really explain it, but it's a licensed character. The toy was made by a company. I had no right to sell it as my own merchandise. And that bleeds through into the way that a lot of us who do this for a living feel about unsolicited, collaborative efforts from some people. That said, I mean, I do advocate for you buy something, it belongs to you. You can do with it as you wish. So if someone buys my toys, they buy a little bundle of blank micros and they want to paint them because, well, they want them to have color. Go for it, man. I don't care. It's great. And if they're cool, send me a picture and I'll be like, that's cool. Nice job. But when you buy 10 of the same figure and then you paint them all the same and say something that rings to the tune of whoever I am times Rampage toys, and then it's like, no, fuck you.
Right.
Yes.
No, unless I said ahead of the whole thing happening, go for it, man.
Right.
Right.
I dig what you do. I dig how you do it. So yeah, go ahead. Do what you want to do.
So it's just a matter of asking permission in a different culture. Obviously, with Dunnies or platform toys here in the States, there's no permission needed if you've purchased the toy.
I think it's like an assumed thing in that medium with regards to that platform. But that's a mass-produced do-it-yourself platform. Some of us are selling a blank toy as like a side thing when we do a painted run. We'll do like, no, you can buy some blanks if you want.
Right.
And it's not that common, really. So the assumption is that someone's buying a blank toy because maybe they want to paint it themselves or because they want the blank for their collection because it's a rare thing or it's just something that they like. Not that they're going to take your brand and run with it as something to grow their own artist name.
Yeah.
You know, Joe
How
Blow.
do you feel about that, CZ? What's your take on people painting platform toys, East versus West?
No, but see, you put the word platform toys in there and you change the context
Okay,
altogether.
well, take out the word platform.
Just a figure.
Well, yes, it's a totally different beast, I suppose. You know what I mean? Like what you're saying, really. I don't know. If someone's bought some Cambots and they customize the Cambots, if they've actually bought the Cambots, then I'm cool in the gang with it. Do you know what I mean? I don't really give a fuck. Like,
What about if it was a resin figure that you made, like one of the soldiers?
Or a painted figure of yours.
exactly. Like, I think that would be a totally different entity, you know, and it would be a little weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I get what you're saying, John. Do you know what I mean? It is. I'm listening to it, thinking you live in a totally different toy world than I do. Do you know what I mean? But
Right. Yeah. It's not like apples and oranges exactly, but there's a bit of difference.
Yeah.
Between, you know, if you produce something that's solid white and is marketed as like a DIY item, then, well, I mean,
you can't buy a Canva. You can't buy a blank Canva.
But it's the same concept.
No, you can't. Oh, I'm
no,
sorry. I thought you could.
No, and you couldn't.
We made that decision. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Oh,
can't.
okay.
But the difference,
you do make blank ones and then provide them to people to work on.
Yeah,
at your discretion.
It's very discretion. Like we keep them very, very close.
right?
Okay.
But the difference is that they are platform toys. Whether they're DIY toys, that's irrelevant. They are a platform for which we put different artists on. The Denny and the Cambot become a platform for lots of different artists. So we invite other artists. So it is way grayer.
It's really gray because platform is like this made up term, and really it's a matter of respect.
Right. Well,
that's really what it comes down to, because we say it's a platform toy. There's no like, you know, binding, like, you know, this is, if you said this is my new platform toy, I know why this is not a platform toy. But I would just say, if this is my new platform toy, okay, now that's a platform toy. Because I think a lot of people, when they make toys now, are immediately assuming that it's a platform. A lot of people make a figure, and then it's
like, in what medium?
Well, people are automatically like, okay, I'm going to get all my friends to customize it.
That's true. That is true.
And so I get a lot of inquiries around like, hey, I made this toy. Can we platform it? And I'm, you know, it's like, well, we can have people customize it, but it's not necessarily a good platform. I think one of the reasons that the Cambot became a platform is it's a great platform for people's art. You just
I've got no problem, you know, with it.
Yeah, it didn't start as a
boy Cambot. You know, if someone buys it and customizes it or paints it however they want, as long as that there's that respect that it's known that I made it, do you know? And they're not marketing it like I've just made this Cambot, like, and there's no mention of me or Clutter. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of bullshit.
You're hitting on something really important.
3D printed it. If some idiots 3D printed it and then wanted to put it in a show or something, that's going to piss me off. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But then, like, if someone's bought a vinyl toy and they take their take on it, I'm cool with it because it just grows the platform even more. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Or resin casting it without permission, which is something that a lot of people fell into issues with Kid Robot about too. It's like, well, just because you bought a vinyl and then you made a mold of it, that's completely different to you buying a vinyl and painting on it, because now you're reproducing somebody else's copyright.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is completely different.
But this is exactly the issue with customizing any figure that's directly associated with an individual. Is if you paint it and then you have it sold by a gallery or you sell it yourself, and you just say custom toy that I made, with no mention of who it is that the toy came from, then it belongs to you as far as the general public is concerned. They don't know that CZ or Rampage or whoever made the toy. And I that happened early on with like people, like Super 7 did a custom Reelhead show. And people got in trouble, and Reelhead still doesn't talk to a lot of those people or like a lot of those people because Well, he blocked me on Instagram too, by the way. I don't know why. But
supposed to be one of the good guys, John.
But because the toys got sold at this gallery event, as though they were the toys of the people who painted them.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm misspeaking. Okay, everybody who's out there in a Sotheby like head is hating me right now, but it wasn't a custom real head show. It was a custom Sotheby show, and there were some real head pieces in the show.
Right.
So sorry.
Okay.
I wasn't there. This is a couple years before I was in. But there were some people who did real head figures for the show, and Maury got pissed off. And I early on was like, what a twat. Why behave like that? Who gives a fuck?
Point of order. I'm sorry, wait, John. Point of order.
It's twat.
It's pronounced twat. In England, they invented the word. You have to say twat. When you're on this program, you have to say twat.
It's not twat.
Well, I don't know. Linguistics isn't my field of study, all right? So,
verbiage.
Anyway.
Verbiage. Go on.
That was before we were on camera.
Yeah, sorry.
But a top
almost fell over.
This was a top
I'm
tip.
naked.
Yeah, don't do that. It's a top tip for all artists that are submitted to gallery shows.
Okay. Yeah. So I had a bigger picture.
Yes. Go on.
So flash forward. Toy Art Gallery. Throw that name out there. People are going to react however they react. I know a lot of people who hate them. I know a lot of people who still work with them. I know one of the guys that works for them. He's super cool, Aaron. Anyway, they did a bunch of custom shows when they were actually a shop, in LA in some gallery that how could they afford to pay the gallery rent?
It was amazing because Gino's independently wealthy. That's why.
Right. So it's like, let's just open up a Ralph Lauren shop, but we'll sell toys instead. Anyway, he had people customizing stuff, and unnamed artists painted some of my figures, and they didn't sell at the opening, and they got posted on their website as her figures.
Oh.
As in, my name was never mentioned.
Right.
The figures, as far as anybody looking at their website knew, it had nothing to do with me.
Right.
And
I gave him,
I was like, dude, honestly, now I understand where, like the old heads are coming from. That's not cool.
Right.
I made this, I sculpted this, I paid to have it produced. I've sold everything up until this point. She bought that from me as a blank and then sold it, and it got marketed as her creation. And it's just, come on.
Right.
I mean, it's wrong.
Right.
It's different from an AI producing your artwork for you. Like, it's the same idea. You're just deleted.
We try to add into all our descriptions if it's a customized figure, who did the base platform. But I think it's important for artists to make sure that's in their description when they submit it to shows, because the gallery, whoever's running the show might not know, and people that are on the website just reading the description, they don't necessarily know. You kind of assume that everybody that looks at that figure knows that that's a John Rampage figure painted by X, but you can't assume that.
No, you can't assume it either. I don't know where the H came from, but
right. I want to just bring in Roger. Hello, Roger. He has a comment. He says, painting a blank Sotheby figure, it seems as fine by many, but you better do a damn good job. Painting over already existed painted Sotheby from the original maker is going to be seen as a bad thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't feel like that was even worth saying. But
do you feel like it's okay to paint a blank figure no matter who it's from?
No.
So
no, I mean, I don't think that's 100%. I think it's a bit simplified what Roger's saying there. If you're painting a toy because you bought a blank and you want to paint it, and you're going to put it on your shelf because you enjoyed painting it, just like you would with like a Tyranid model that you bought from Citadel Miniatures, then fine, do that. Put it in your web shop afterwards and say, here's my artwork. No, go fuck yourself.
Right.
Like if if you put it in your web shop afterwards and say, here's a figure by this person and I've now painted it, then it's a little bit better. Then if you go into your web shop and you say, here's a figure I've painted by this person and they've given me the okay to do so, then that's great. That's perfectly fine. The gray area for me is I do customs for people on commission. And I often don't post pictures of those because those are people who've bought something and they want it painted. They want me to paint it, and I paint it and send it back to them. They're welcome to do with it as they wish, as they've done by sending it to me initially. Some artists might still have a problem with that, and I know some artists do.
I think it's a really interesting conversation, and it seems to be very specific to the soft movie world.
It is. There's so many layers to this, actually, that only occur. They only occur in the Sofubi world, and it's almost like
no, not really though.
It's really true. It's really true. It's literally like it's what you were saying before. Like even a dunny on a certain level, it's like this mass market thing where there's no respect needed. You know what I mean? It's like there's like I mean if you
it's been marketed to be that thing.
Well, I guess the question is like if you paint a bear brick, is there anyone at Medicom who's going, fuck that person who painted a bear brick?
I don't think so.
I don't think so because the bear brick is made by Medicom almost as a mass-produced item. There's no respect. There's no respect given, and there's no respect intended.
But I
think but if you buy a pusshead bear brick and then you paint over it,
well, you're just stupid.
You're an idiot.
You're just an idiot. And no one's gonna be mad at you.
It's also dumb.
It's
for so many other reasons, but you're also risking just pissing a bunch of people off.
But honestly, if Puss had found out about that, he'd just be like, "Well, fuck that person."
I can't speak for Pusshead.
There you go.
But I feel like a lot of
it should be a T-shirt. I can't speak.
A lot of Western artists that produce vinyl toys of their own original figures, and they are painted at a factory or not, or they're blank or whatever. I don't feel like you get upset when another artist paints over their own quote unquote mass produced, even if there's only 50 of them, right?
No, they wouldn't. Yeah,
they wouldn't get upset.
Not really, no.
But they would get upset if they hand painted something that was then painted over.
I think it's all a matter of intent. If you're doing something because you're a hobbyist and you're having fun doing it, all the more power to you. When you're looking to benefit either career-wise or financially off somebody else's work, then it gets a little bit messy. It just gets messy. Like it
might be messy, but it's still a cultural difference. It really because we, as gallery owners, often
hold on a second. There are plenty of American sofubi makers who are in the same of the same mindset as the Japanese.
Because it's the culture of sofubi and kaiju. Regardless of where you are based, you are in that cultural mindset of how you want your toys sold, how you want them perceived, how you want them treated, how you want them displayed. Like it's a thing. It's not just whether somebody paints on your toy. It's also how somebody buys that toy a lot of the time. Mm. Whereas, as gallery owners, we get a lot of artists that will paint on a figure, say a 2-petal rose figure. Someone will paint a 2-petal rose figure and they may be amazing artists, but they know that figure is going to sell better because people collect that 2-petal rose figure.
Right. Correct.
And Liam isn't going to be upset that they painted that figure because that's just a figure that he's made and he's okay about it.
Yes. And the other nuance that I would add in, or the other thing that I've seen in the sofubi world that I've never seen in the Western vinyl world, is toys that I'm not supposed to sell.
Yeah, that's true.
So I've been in people's homes, not naming any names, and been pointed. Here's a shelf of toys that I own that were sold to me that should not have been sold to me. That These were toys that were gifted or granted or custom.
Or I was looking at the lottery,
or the artist literally put this in her hand and sold.
Well, you know, everyone has to put their face forward the way they want to be perceived, but they do whatever they're going to do in the back alleys. So
yeah, but that's not a thing. And you know what I mean? If Frank Kozik painted something and made something and sold it to you, and then you sold it again, he would be like,
"You're dead to
me.
You're dead to me." Buy any more toys.
I think Frank would be like, whatever.
Right?
Like,
no, yeah,
totally.
That's okay. I don't belong to the. I don't necessarily like it if somebody tries to buy 5 of a figure I'm selling because they think they can resell them. But the truth is, and oftentimes I'll just process the order because, well, they sold, and I only have to ship 1 box and 5 things go in that 1 box. Like it, but like I hate.
I'm talking about way higher level illegal toy trading.
Like one piece.
Like one piece. Like this piece was given to me by X artist, and I sold it for a Rolex.
But it's also what makes it so special.
You have some of those toys in your cases.
Yeah,
there are toys in our cases that.
I know some of them. I know the story behind some.
Yeah,
of them.
absolutely.
Yeah,
and that's what makes it so elusive and so collectible and so amazing that you're like part of this club.
And it's literally the difference between a higher end object that has hype on a real level as opposed to things that I think trade on hype that dissipates very quickly. You know, there are coveted Sofubi toys that you only hear whispers about.
Mm.
You know, and you just don't find them. They don't come up. They don't come around. But if you dig into that world and you discover like, oh shit, there are these toys out there that, you know, barely anyone's even seen. You know, you have to dig into collections. I know you.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of toys out there that get sold at private events and literally never get seen outside that event or the person's shelf that they then live on. You know, and if they did, the person who made it would know. They would remember when it was sold, and they would email them like, why does this person have this thing now?
Exactly.
Right. That's what
that I sold to you.
Yeah.
That's just not a thing in Western vinyl.
Like when we had the NAG show here,
yes,
and Drew was here, like you had to meet him before you were allowed to actually buy the piece. Like you were pulled in the lottery and you had to go and shake his hand so he could look into your eyes.
You did that stupid finger thing with
the secret handshake.
Right. But it's all part of the same concept.
Yeah. So
okay.
I'll ask a stupid question and maybe you'll give me an answer. And if you don't, what do you attribute that level of? So there are these Japanese figures or Sofubi figures out there, not necessarily Japanese, but Sofubi figures that are so coveted. What do you?
It has to be Japanese.
Do you think so?
Yes.
There are American figures that are that coveted.
Well, but they're produced in Japan.
But they're produced in Japan.
Of course, yeah.
Because they're Sofubi. And so only Sofubi is produced in
Sofubi is a Japanese word. The medium's a Japanese medium. The figures made in wherever else could be called vinyl or whatever.
That's right.
Yes.
And I have an example. You know, I always talk about the difference between sparkling wine and champagne. You can make wine with bubbles anywhere in the world. It's sparkling wine. If you make it in Champagne, it's champagne.
Correct. That's perfect.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
And like, the thing fell off again. I love the figure. This is a beautiful figure by Seymour. It's great. It's soft vinyl. It's not Sofubi.
I don't know the figure.
I know it's
so bright I can't even see it.
I know. That's why I love it. Because I love pink. It bears noticing that it's impossible to photograph. I love the figure. It's dope. It's the neck.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think.
And it's soft vinyl, but it's made in China. It's
great.
Not Sofubi.
That's fine. And the distinction is simply a matter of linguistics or clarification.
It's more than linguistics.
Medium, you're simply talking about a different medium, generally speaking. And you're talking about different production facilities and just a different source. Yeah, exactly. Your champagne analogy is perfect. Really.
Do you think that it's possible to produce? Have you seen any soft Vi coming out of China that's comparable to actual Sofubi?
I think there are facilities that are doing raw vinyl. Well, here's the thing: is that Japanese vinyl is raw vinyl. The raw material is made in Japan, and then it's cast in factories, workshops, 1 or 2 people working in the workshop in Japan. So I think it's earned its place as its own medium. I'm sure there are people in other countries using raw vinyl and making products, figures that are of the same quality as they are in Japan. So obviously it's not possible. There used to be vinyl casting facilities in France. There are a bunch in Mexico. It's not exclusive in terms of the methodology to a place. It's just exclusive in terms of the place. You get something from the place. It has a feel. It has an aura that it's earned and it deserves.
It's also the tradition of being able to do it that way and being taught how to do it that way.
Right. Yeah. When we get our facility up and running in Beacon, we'll decide what to call it then.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. We have some ideas.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got a question here in the chat as well for you. Just to switch up a little bit. How did you meet and get involved with Akamatsu?
I was at a design festa. That's at the big site in Chiba, or is it in Tokyo? It's on one of those fake man-made islands in Tokyo Bay. But anyway, he was there, and I had never had the gumption to talk to him before. But I had just before I was at that show, I had pre-ordered his one of his toys, a giant 18-inch Jamira, which is the Ultraman character that I collect. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go meet him. And I think I'd been there for a couple of years, but he was really nice, and I chatted with him. I could speak a little bit of Japanese at that time. I was booth mates with Refreshment Toys and Pop Soda, and we always did Design Festa together for the first few years until I got too big for my britches and did my own booth. But yeah, it was super fun. We would always hang out and have a good time. But anyway, I went over to his booth. It was around the corner, and they had a row. Design Fest is massive. There are thousands of people making anything and everything you can imagine, doing huge murals that would just get torn down and thrown away, all sorts of awesome artistic stuff. And there was a row of Sofubi makers, and he was in that row, and he had some toys, and I was playing with them and chatted with him a bit. And I was like, oh, I got your figure. I ordered your figure. And man, I love this character. It's this guy. Wait, no, I don't know which side's right and which side's left. But anyway, this guy, Jamira, he's a Ultraman kaiju. Oh, this is my Ultraman now. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. And I was like, oh, I really would love to make my own version of this character someday, but I know it's not really possible. And he's like, oh, you can use my license. And I was like, wait, what? You don't know me? And he's like, oh, it's okay. Do you want to do that? Just sculpt it and then show me the sculpt, and then if it's good, we can make it. So I went home, and I was for a week just sculpting. So it used to take me a really long time to sculpt things, and maybe I'm just worse about my quality control now, but it doesn't take me very long anymore. But did you say I got better?
Yeah, you just got better at sculpting. It's just you've honed your craft over that time, so that you can do it faster. Not that your quality control's got worse.
I think I just give fewer shits. But anyway, so I sculpted it, and it took a really long time for the license to get approved by Tsuburaya. But at that time, he owned the license, it was his, so he could kind of do things more easily. The licensing's changed altogether now. It's way more complicated. People like to think it's easier. You can get licenses now kind of more easily, but it's not like it was back then. I had 5 years where I could have made anything I wanted to make, and I was just a lazy fucker that didn't get it done. But anyway, I got the license for Jamira, and I made that, and that was the first thing he and I did together. And then I asked him if I could make heads for his Skull Headbutt series, and he was totally cool with it, and that's how that started. So now I've done like 20 different heads for that series, and
Awesome. One of yours.
Yeah, I mean the rest is history. He quit doing Super Festival, and then like when my booth at Super Festival started getting kind of popular, and there a lot of people would show up, he would just sit at my booth and bring a backpack full of toys, and then just go home, you know, that sort of thing.
That's awesome.
So, but like, he would bring like 10 Death Gojis and sit down and sell them each for like $800. So he'd walk away with like 10 grand in his pocket for after 10 minutes of work.
Yeah.
Right.
You know. So
Yeah.
That's the dream.
yeah, it's
the
great,
dream.
I guess. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's Godzilla. Why are they so popular? There's so many Godzillas.
People love Godzilla.
So here's another question for you from the
Roger.
Oh yeah, so we want to talk about Godzilla before we
Oh
move
yeah.
This is my most hated figure.
on? Tell us about this figure and why it's so hated.
So I used to be really like, I used to be quite friendly. I hate to say used to. It just sort of fizzled in the last 3 years since I've been able to go to Japan. But I used to meet with the head of Medicom every time I went to Japan, and we would like drink coffee and like share collections. Like, you know, we traded stuff a bunch. And I was sitting there one day and I was like, he's like, is there anything you want to make? And I was like, oh, well, I'd like to make a Godzilla. And he said, oh, okay. And this was right before I moved back to the States. And I had 2 weeks to make a sculpt. And I was just like, you know, shitting my pants, like I have to sculpt Godzilla. And so I had 2 weeks to sculpt Godzilla, but the Toho had specifically requested that I make like a bootleg style toy, because they had seen my Ultra Kaiju, which I guess they thought I was intentionally making look bootleg. And so I was like, I don't know. So anyway, I sculpted this guy, and yeah, it got made. And when I handed one to Akamatsu, when I had them in Japan, first time I went back, and I was at a Wonder Festival, he took it and he went, what year was it then? It's 2017, and you're allowed to make a Godzilla like this? Is what he said. So anyway, that's this guy.
Shit on your Godzilla?
I think it's awesome.
Does Akamatsu shit on your Godzilla?
Oh yeah.
So
it was. I think I could have done a lot better if I'd had the time. I was given 2 weeks, and I was basically just like told to make it bootleg, and this is the guy that came to life.
I think it's awesome, and
yeah,
it's awesome that it's officially licensed Godzilla.
Yeah, yeah, it's on the foot and everything. Medicom toy, Rampage Toys, trademark Toho Company Limited.
Yeah. It's funny how sometimes in your mind you get built up to do something really high profile like that, and it just doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, it could have mattered, I guess. Like if I'd had all the time in the world to make like a fucking awesome Godzilla toy that, you know, was my style but wasn't just like slapped together, then maybe it would have sold more than like 400 pieces or whatever ended up selling in the end, like total.
But this is a Rampage Godzilla.
Yeah.
This is what your work looks like.
Is it?
You would do it differently now.
Well, you know what? It is, because it exists in that form. So yes, you're absolutely right. That's what my work.
But you would do it differently.
I might do a little bit better. Yeah.
What would you do?
I would have put more work into the shape of the torso.
Okay.
Because I was sculpting it so that the torso, Medicom didn't want to have to pull separate parts for the spikes. They wanted it to be one piece. And that's really hard to pull out of one hole unless his neck's really fat or his tail's really fat.
Right.
or the legs. The legs are super fat. Like if you look at Akamatsu's Godzilla's, the legs are like beefy legs.
Yeah.
So the holes for the legs are really big, so you can pull the torso out of there and get all the spikes through. But I would have put more thought into the jointing of the figure, and the balance surprisingly ended up being really good. Like it can stand on 2 feet without the tail sitting down.
Yeah.
So that worked out, but that was also a bit of luck. I always knew that's like a tripod. If it's going to fall forward, people can lean it back on the tail and it's fine. But
yeah, it doesn't need to.
It doesn't need to, yeah. But anyway, yeah, there would have been more like proportional consideration taken. So like when I sculpted the bear, there was tons of resculpting of the shoulders and the torso to get the pose to be the way it ended up being. Constantly referencing figures that already existed.
You're talking about your Kesagake.
Yeah, which is up there, and I couldn't get.
Yeah, we couldn't. Do you have one lying around? We don't have one.
No, I don't have one here.
We couldn't reach it in our case. It's too high up.
Yeah,
we're too small.
So let's ask Roger's question.
What's Roger's question?
Throw it on the screen, producer. Yeah. So when you lived in Japan, did you ever get to visit a factory and pull your own figures or someone else's?
Many, many times. Yeah. My own generally, but the factory owner that I work with on the most personal friendship sort of basis allows for me and other people who are nice to and who show up and actually show that they give a shit to use his factory when they're visiting at a not nominal fee. Basically pull whatever you want while you're here for a couple $100. And there's always vats of vinyl sitting around that are just left over from previous projects, and just say you can use these things. And I've never done it by myself. Corey, Science Patrol, has always been there.
Would you be concerned to do it by yourself?
No, I think I've grasp on it. It's not rocket science, but it's particularly easy to screw up if it's smaller figures. They get stuck in the mold if you make them too thick.
Right.
But bigger figures are just like, I'm pretty sure a 12-year-old could just walk in there and be shown what to do and do like a little art project if he didn't put his arm in the 200-degree vat of salt bath.
So if you
go be on your way to the hospital.
If you go online and you search for sofubi making, you find videos of factories in Japan. And it looks like they don't give a fuck about safety, because I've seen videos of people standing around in flip-flops, smoking cigarettes, pulling vinyl.
Yeah, no, that's just people think it's explosive. It's not explosive. Torek is a salt. It's mixed with water. It allows you to heat the water to 200 degrees Celsius. Water usually boils at 100 degrees Celsius.
Right.
It's not a flammable oil. The only thing flammable in the place is the propane being used to heat the liquid bath.
Right.
It's no different from your.
But if you dripped 200-degree water on your foot in flip-flops.
Well, just don't do that, man. What do you mean?
I'm just saying
it's just like you go to a Japanese garden in Japan and they got the steps going across the pond. It's little slippery rocks going across the pond. In America, they'd be like, don't walk across here. You might get hurt because you're a fucking moron. In Japan, you just walk across the pond. We live in a country of people who can't take responsibility for their own mistakes.
You have it here.
If I can interject real quick, we just got word from our toy tank artist. She has to be off within the hour. So whenever you guys are ready to make that transition, she's gonna have to.
Why don't we toy tank and we come back to John? We can talk to John for hours.
We have to talk about this too.
Yes, absolutely. So let's
switch to the monitor Naka for a minute. We'll come back to you, John.
We'll come back to this thought about people who can't take responsibility for themselves. And in the meantime,
cool. So just real quick too, we're going to be starting season 2 of Clutter Live and Toy Tank next year. So Anybody who's an up-and-coming artist, anybody who wants to show off a new toy, you don't necessarily have to be somebody new. You could be anybody who creates toys. If you got something dope that you want to show to us, hit us up at info@clutter.toys and submit your toy, and then you could be a participant on the show and doing the toy tanks. So without further ado, here's everybody's favorite little jingle. It goes, toy tank, take me to the toy tank and show me your fucking toys. All right. This time around, yeah, we got Holly's Comet. She is a toy designer, a artist, a designer. She really skirts the line between all of these different worlds, and so she has something dope to show us today. So let's bring her on board. Hello.
Ooh, hello.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, welcome.
Nice hat.
Merry Christmas.
Yay.
Merry Christmas.
Well, my name is Haley Castile, and I'm a pop artist living and working in Pensacola, Florida.
Nice.
And I have this fun piece to show you if you guys are ready.
Yes.
Go.
Okay, great. So I made this. It's a Rubik's Cube with a face coming out of the front part of it.
Oh, interesting.
So you can actually kind of play around with it and everything. But it's 3D printed, and it actually was something that I thought of a long time ago, and I wasn't sure if it would ever be possible until I went to college and I started working with 3D printing more. But I did go to art school, and I'm more of like a pop artist in real life. So that's what I like to do. And I just had this fun idea of combining the two, toy world with the art. I love nostalgia and cartoons and that kind of thing. So that's kind of where my inspiration comes from.
That's awesome.
Let me just tell Instagram that you can see this on YouTube /Clutter Magazine. People are asking in the chat. We're doing
come join. And I also just want to say,
welcome.
Dangerbots in the house. Thank you.
Florida all day. Yeah.
Thanks.
Where'd you go to school? Where'd you go to art college?
I went to University of North Georgia, actually. So I just moved to Pensacola, Florida last year.
From Georgia.
Yes.
Awesome. And is that Panhandle?
It is. Yeah, I live on the Gulf Coast.
Oh, right on.
Awesome.
So
is this your first toy that you've created?
It is. I wouldn't really necessarily say I've ever been a toy designer in my mind. This was kind of an art piece that I created for fun, and I really love your gallery. I'm a huge fan, and I wanted to submit for the toy tank. So.
Oh, awesome.
I love the things that are hanging in the background too. Is that something
Thank
you made?
you. Yeah, so I'm kind of known specifically for my Prism Pop pieces. This is a mobile that I made, but I do have a sculpture that I'll just go grab it right here.
Yeah.
I love the colorful bins too.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Oh,
So this is the sculpture. It's the Prism Pop series that I made, but I did a whole rainbow series of these where the prisms are popping out of the frame.
Cool.
Rad. Someone says the mobile reminds them of a game of asteroids.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's right. That's right.
Do you have plans to keep it going and start creating more toys or things out of resin or trying to do some more sculpting?
I do have a lot of ideas for future series. I'm trying to do a candy art series coming up soon where I'd be using resin and that kind of thing. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
Have you worked with resin before?
I have, but on a small scale. This would be kind of larger, so I would be excited for the challenge.
Nice.
Cool. How many of those Rubik's Cubes have you made?
I've made a few. This is the only one that I have right now, though.
Okay. Are people into them? Have they been selling?
I mean, it's hard for me to sell sometimes. That's just how it is.
That's okay.
But,
I'm just asking. Do you think that are you enamored by the Rubik's Cube because it reminds you of your prisms?
I don't know. I kind of just had like always been fascinated by Rubik's cubes, like growing up and everything. Not that I could solve one for my life, but I think they're fun. I'm just really fascinated by like vintage toys and pop culture in general. That was kind of the idea behind these. Actually, it was to like bring pop art to life, like in literal form, like it's like actually popping out at you. So
Yeah,
Right
I love
on.
it.
Awesome.
Love it. Awesome.
Cool.
Do any of our resin casters have any advice for somebody who's just getting started?
Wear a mask.
That's true.
Get proper ventilation.
Don't be allergic to resin.
And start with a hobby resin.
those are all good tips. Thanks.
Yes, maybe start with an epoxy resin, not a urethane resin.
Yep.
What's the difference between the two?
Epoxies are easier to work with. They're more forgiving and they're less toxic.
They're less toxic.
And time scale stuff.
That's always a good thing.
I did put some epoxy glue in my mouth about a month ago, and it tasted really bad. I was shocked.
Bad.
Was that at SantaCon?
I was fucking
right?
shocked at how bad it tasted. Like, it was beyond.
I don't know why you're shocked because it smells like sulfur.
Well, no, because I lick a lot of stuff when I'm working. It's true.
Oh,
Anyone who knows me and has been around me when I'm sculpting, like when I'm sculpting with Magic Sculpt, I'm always like licking my fingers and smoothing things out and getting Magic Sculpt in my mouth. And someday I'll probably die from tongue cancer from Magic Sculpt poisoning. That's a whole other conversation.
When I'm back on the camera, remind me that I have to tell you a story that's a secondhand story about somebody licking something. But
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
No, not now.
They just push
Oh,
you.
we-
I think we lost her.
Oh, we
Well,
lost.
she's been having some connectivity issues.
Start
She's
telling your licking
she's
story
I'm out of here.
when she comes
Well, I
back.
think the Rubik's Cube
Yeah,
thing is
you'll bring
kind of
her back
cool, actually.
Tell us your licking story.
Oh, so this is secondhand. This is told to me by Corey, Science Patrols, that he was taking a mold to somebody once that had been used, a sulfur mold, and when you dip it in the bath, it'll get like a salt cake on it if you don't rinse it off with water afterwards.
Yeah.
And the mold was dirty; it had this salt caked all over it. So this is Torek, this chemical salt that allows you to boil the water hotter.
Right.
And he didn't know how to get it off because he didn't have a hose or anything. He just licked the salt.
Oh my god.
Wait, did
Off of
Corey
the
lick the
mold.
salt off?
He licked the Torek off of the mold.
Was it Corey that licked it off?
Yeah.
And he
Oh my
lived.
God.
And
He's fine.
He's
So-
fine.
he's
He's
fine.
Fine.
Yeah.
He talks a little funny and one eye goes sideways, but like he's all right.
Yeah, but he was in the military. I blame the military for that.
Yeah, they're just like,
Yeah.
lick it off, wipe it
Yeah.
off with your hand. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. So who needs a factory? You can just use Corey's tongue.
Yeah.
That's true. Evil Wing gives a good tip. They say, my first resin that I used, I didn't read the part that said not suitable for casting, which is
Taking away
true.
from you.
Not all resin is good for casting. It's absolutely true. You have to read
Yeah.
the resin that you get.
But at Blick they sell like an art epoxy.
Yeah.
It's called art epoxy
Epoxy, yeah.
resin.
Still have
It's a
it.
2-part art epoxy resin. That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, I'll check it
It
out.
won't
Yeah.
kill you.
Unlike crystal clear.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not planning on licking it, so
That's a
That's
good
good.
idea. That's a
That's
really,
a good
really
start.
good guardrail
Good start.
to start with. Thank you so much for coming on and
Yeah.
showing your work. It's
Thank
thank you guys
Yeah.
so much. I really
Stay-
appreciate it.
Stay in touch.
Yeah.
Send us your work again.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
would love to. I'd love to be in the gallery sometime too, if you're ever.
Yeah.
Come back on, show
100%.
us your work again. Let's see how the resin progresses, and we'll
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys have a wonderful night.
You
Thank
too.
you. You
And
too.
definitely stick
Okay.
around as well. Please,
Yeah.
please. We want to hang out. Totally cool.
Cool.
All right, thanks.
All right, let's go
Okay.
back to John. Put John back in the hot seat.
Roger says Japan's a country where you go to a restaurant that gives you raw meat and your grill set in the table. The Sufubidus, the flip-flops know what they're doing. This is true. They do know what they're doing.
Is Roger the only person that's watching this?
Yes.
No, it's a whole group of
no.
people.
There's lots of people
Come on.
watching. No,
I
but
can't tell.
Roger's the only one asking questions.
no offense, Roger, but I have a better question.
Danger buses, I've heard you have to lick it before you stick it. Is that
That's
true?
yes.
That's
That is
true,
true.
too.
That is true.
It's true.
Yes. That's exactly.
Yeah.
All walks
That's non sequitur.
Yes. We love Danger Rod. He's allowed to non sequitur.
Yeah.
What was your experience like? Obviously, like in the toy world, you had a lot of acceptance. Was it hard being American in Japan?
No, not at all. No, my outlet, like I did my work, of course, and spent maybe 70% of my time doing that. But I climb, and I made friends super easily through climbing, and there was never any feeling like I was a foreigner for
What
me.
about-
I
what
biked.
about-
I rode my bike everywhere in Tokyo. I know the city like there's a map in my head of the place. It felt like home after being there for a year. And if you talk to people and you're sincere, then they do the same for you back. So no, it's not a weird like I'm an outsider feeling. But I think there's a large expat community of Westerners living in Japan who are like kind of shitty people who don't bother to learn any Japanese and don't bother to like be respectful of culture and stuff like that. Yeah, and they feel like people look down at them, and they're rightfully they do. I think you're going to behave like that, and you're going to live in a place, and you're going to act like your shit doesn't stink for whatever reason. Then fuck off.
Yeah, there's a question on Instagram that says, John, any tips for Americans who like to travel to Japan in the future? So I guess my tip is respectful.
I'm jealous if you go soon because I haven't been 3.5 years, and a lot of my friends have gone recently. Man, I really want to go, but anyway, it's a really broad question. The thing is, right now, when I was living there, I would know what to avoid and what to go do based on the time of year, which tourist groups were going to be there, that sort of thing. Now I have no idea, is China back? Are they flooding the streets of Kyoto to the point where you're like, I don't even want to be here? Or have they not bothered to go back yet? And if they have, then just don't go to Kyoto because, well, it'll just be ruined by that. But eat a lot of food. The food at the convenience stores in Japan is better than the food you can get at a fancy restaurant here. You can walk and drink in Tokyo, which is the best way. Walking is the fucking best way to see Tokyo. You get off at a station on one side of Tokyo and just start walking towards the other side of Tokyo. You have your stupid person phone in front of your face the whole time, maybe so you don't make a wrong turn, but you see so much. Just walk.
Yeah.
And if you have like a few places you want to go and they're like far apart from each other and you have the whole day and it's nice out, walk.
Yeah.
You'll walk all these little streets. You'll see like, the residential streets with the townhouses along the sides and the electrical wires that you're like, how the hell does anybody make any sense of these like 5,000 wires running down this road? It's like, that's how you'll actually experience it.
That's
and then you'll come across things that you wouldn't do or see otherwise. Yeah, I think that's my ride a bike or walk in Tokyo. If you just get off the train and walk around the one neighborhood, you'll see a lot of stuff because you've never been there before. But if you really want to see like Tokyo and like see how people live and get lost, which is the funnest thing to do, then walk. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Does that house still exist? The one where you had the gallery? It's still saying now something from the 1940s?
Yeah. My buddy whose house it is, his mom was my neighbor, my landlady. So the house is now rented to somebody else. I know who it is, but he asks that I don't say who he is. He's a person that people would know if I mentioned his name.
Yeah.
But it's still there. And it I don't think it's going anywhere. If anything, it'll just get upgraded. It's in a very sort of classic Japanese, purely like super Japanese feeling neighborhood. It's one of the when I told people I lived in that neighborhood, they're like, "Oh, it's haunted there." And that's what everyone said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And, yeah, it was pretty rad, and it was right across the street from a temple, one of the largest Shinto temples in Tokyo. Shinto is the sort of nature worshipping religion of Japan. So there's Buddhism and Shinto, and they go hand in hand. There are a lot of similarities in how it's practiced, but they have different like roots in their belief systems. But everyone in Japan is practiced. Well, not everybody. Generally, people in Japan practice Shinto and Buddhism. But it's so I'd wake up every morning and the monks would be chanting for like 3 hours. You know,
amazing.
But it was really nice. And the third largest ginkgo tree in the world was growing on the temple grounds.
Wow.
The base of the tree was like 30 feet wide.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Did you have any haunting experiences?
No. No, just people like they shoot TV series and commercials and movies in that neighborhood all the time. So like I'd be walking down the street with bags full of boxes to go to the post office, and they'd be like, "You can't walk down here. We're shooting a whatever." And I'd be like, "Nope, I'm going to the post office," and just like walk. They're like, "Fuck, we have to do another take."
Yeah.
And then one time they knocked on my door and they're like, "Can we ask you to turn your lights off for the next 20 minutes?" I was like, I was doing a show. I was like, "No, just close the door." They came back 20 minutes later, like, "How about now?" I was like, "I'll tell you what." It's because they had a generator running outside. It was like the whole time. I'm like, "All right, we'll light some candles." And then there were people there for a show I was doing. I was like, "We'll light some candles for the next 10 minutes if you turn off that generator." And so they moved the generator around the block. And they came back and said, "Oh, we moved the generator." And I was like, "Okay, I'll turn off the lights."
Nice.
And I set a timer for 10 minutes. And then when 10 minutes was up, I just turned the lights back on.
Oh my God. Somebody asks, Whiskey Sasquatch asks, how many shows did you host over the years? What a great name, Whiskey Sasquatch.
Whiskey Sasquatch. I know that name. Is that Instagram or?
That's YouTube.
Whiskey Sasquatch. Ask Whiskey Sasquatch what his actual name is.
You can't dox somebody on this show.
Yeah, what's your
Just
actual
first name? Just first name.
It's a Sasquatch that likes whiskey.
Yeah.
I mean, what more do you need? What more do you need? So
I
how
know this
many shows?
username.
You answer the
That's
question,
a goddamn
Rampage.
question.
Jeez.
Oh man. I don't know. I would do one like every other month for 3 years. So yeah, maybe like 20 shows. But
Which was the one that you remember the clearest? Like, what was the most special one?
Oh, the Blobpuss and Elegab show was pretty epic. Placebo was in that show as well. But I guess I mean there are ones that I remember for various reasons. There are certain ones that were the items that got sold at the shows are items that now people would see and be like just mind blown by them. Like, oh my God, this existed and this passed through your hands. But they literally, like a lot of them sat there for the duration and then sold online afterwards, you know, for whatever price they were selling for.
Sure.
But the idea of some of the things that sat there, because we're in a different world now than we were in like 2015. But some of the things that sat there are things now that people would just be like willing to sell their firstfeborn for,
Right.
You
right.
know. But yeah,
So-
maybe like 20 shows and a few dozen different artists who took part. You know.
So what do you collect, John?
Buona Spoon stuff. His paintings. I have about 30-40 of his originals. They're in a portfolio book, unfortunately, because my wife doesn't really particularly care for colorful stuff. Or in my studio, I have a lot of his toys too.
If he wants to come over and do an intervention,
You have some paintings behind you though.
Oh yeah.
Things.
That's a Buona. Well, I keep using the wrong hand. That's a blown up piece. That's a header art he did for the Godzilla that didn't get used.
Yeah.
This one right here. It's weird looking at a screen and trying to gesture. So there's a Buona there. There's another Buona in the middle, and then there's an Ainsley, Grumple Toy Ainsley. That's her dinos. That's an original Ghibli cell on the side there.
Cool.
Nice.
And then there's a Jeff Lamb right next to my head.
Yeah.
I think that was like a Blink 182 album cover or something like that.
Nice. What about your toy collection?
Over here, well, this isn't. I just brought some toys in, so I look like I actually do this thing for a living. But this is the new Busca that
awesome.
He's dope.
One Up made this. Buona sculpted the original sculpt that I sent to them, and then they basically resculpted the whole thing. But it still has the same feel. It just had to be worked a little bit to mold properly. And then he's got his ramen, his chopsticks.
So cute.
He's super cute. And he sold out in like 2 minutes. It was wild, but
I feel like he's dodging my question.
What's the question?
What you have in your toy collection?
I collect Buona stuff, Bullmark and Budonohana Jamira figures, and other actual Japanese Sofubi Jamira figures. I didn't bring one here to talk about that. I collect a smattering of Itokin Park stuff. Paul Kaiju, when he makes something that I really like, I buy one of them. I have quite a few of his figures from over the years. I keep blanks of my own stuff. There's a candy jar full of just unicorns, all different. There's probably a couple hundred different colors of this figure in existence. And
what's your most coveted toy?
Most coveted that he's made or that he wants to own?
No, that you own.
Oh, what's your holy grail?
Yeah,
I own my holy grail.
Yeah, what is your holy grail?
It's the original Bullmark Jamira figure.
Nice.
Yeah, it lives in a bell jar in my studio. Yeah. It's also the most I ever spent on a single toy. So.
Oh, how much was it? Tell us.
It was a little over $1,000. Yeah.
But now you own it. So.
Yeah, and it was sitting on. I got it at a discount. I knew the guy who was running the shop. So I got it $200 off. But
nice.
But whatever. I figured it was the first time I'd ever seen one on a shelf for sale.
Yeah.
And I had just sold out of everything I had with me at the event I went to while I was there. This was in 2017. So I was like, well, whatever, I'll just buy it and never regret it because I never will. It's
Dingy Dave asks, how many vinyl pieces have you made? Do you know? I
had a list at one point. Actually, there are a couple molds. I don't even know where they are. I've lost 3 molds, or I haven't lost them. They've gotten lost. Awesome. Some of those molds had like 4 or 5 figures in them. But I don't know, 50. I mean, I make a lot of small stuff, so I'll make a mold that has 5 figures in it. Do you want me to like figure it out?
No, it's a good enough answer.
John, it's
so
fine.
when you lose a mold like that, when the factory loses a mold, you just have to be like, all right.
Chad of Monster Warship said it best, and it's stuck with me ever since he said it. There are drug dealers, and you don't want to piss off your drug dealer.
There you go.
Yeah. I have personal relationships with every factory I work with except one. One is just business. They're the most reliable. But and they've never lost a mold. But I it's just not important. You know what? I can make another toy. It costs a certain amount of money to make a mold, and there are certain molds I've made that I've never made that money back, either because the mold got lost or because the figure sucked and nobody wanted it. And, you know, that happens. But just, I don't know, move on. There's no point in dwelling on it.
This is true.
There are a couple that got lost. There are a couple things that got lost that I do think about because I know people want them and have wanted them. And
what are they?
The alligator.
Oh, really? The alligator's gone?
Yeah, it's gone in some massive stack of like 5,000 molds.
Oh no!
I found the head mold once, and I was like, "Oh, you have this?" And he's like, "Yeah, but I don't know what the rest of the pieces are." Yeah. And like that's the other thing, like you have a mold. One mold has all the lower body parts. One mold has all the upper body parts. You lose one of those molds, it's like, cool, I've got a bunch of torsos.
Right.
And then you make another mold, you're like, that's just a bunch of like, I don't know, whatever. I made a mold that was a bunch of cars and tanks, so I could use the extra torsos I had. And then it just happened that it got all fucked up and imbalanced, and I have like hundreds of cars and tanks and nothing to put in them. I'm just like, whatever.
Andy says, what's your favorite scale of Safubi to design to, micro or large?
I don't know why, but I like making the small stuff. Didn't start out that way at all. I thought about it always like people who made small toys, actually, they were the ones that made it. Like if you could make a living making small stuff, then like, yeah, you're doing well. Because you have to sell hundreds or thousands of them to really make a lot of money. But now I just like making the small stuff, and I just torture myself with brushwork on every single one of them. But I guess I like it. I don't know. I have some larger figures in the works. And yeah, if we're talking finances, you make a lot more money off big figures. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I get more excited about the smaller stuff, I guess. Yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah, a good answer. I love the micros.
I was just reading the question, but I think we answered this question.
How old were you when you started making
he was
toys?
27,
right?
Yeah, I was 27 when I started casting resin.
Brooke, you missed the beginning of the episode.
It's okay, Brooke.
All right. It's all right. This shit's boring. Nobody wants to sit through this 2-hour whatever.
I do.
If your mold get lost, can't you just have a new mold made?
Sure, if you don't sculpt and wax. Yeah. Or
forever.
Or if you want to get a vinyl plated, you can do that. But or you can just make a new toy. I don't know. I think. Yeah, you can. Of course you can. It's obvious that you can. Paul used to have all his stuff made through Reelhead. When it became hard to get things from Mori at some point, Paul had the same figures replated and new molds made so he could get them.
They wouldn't do factories move molds around easily, or?
Well, you added the word easily, so no, but it is possible. Yeah. You have to have a relationship with both factories that allows that conversation to happen.
Right.
If you've made a mold and given it to a factory and they've only done like, I've had experiences with this, not personally, but managing somebody else's project, in which burnt a bridge for me because they were a dick. But if you make a mold and give it to somebody and they've only had a chance to like pull the figure a couple times, it wasn't worth their while to house your mold. If you pull it away from them and give it to somebody else, they're not going to like you because basically you're interfering with their workflow, with their means of making a living. And also like your mold, when it's at a factory and it's getting used all the time, it's at the top of the stack. There's a room full of molds that people haven't bothered to order from for years or months or decades or whatever, that they're still there. They still exist. But finding those becomes a problem.
Isn't that how they get lost?
Yeah.
Just get thrown.
More or less. Well, generally, yeah, that is. But there are other ways. Molds get destroyed if liquid gets in them, if they get wet on the inside. they corrode, and
if the product gets into the mold, it will corrode the mold.
Yeah. So like when you finish using a mold at the end of the day, you wash the outside of the mold. You need to be really careful not to get water inside the mold, because if you do, it's copper inside, and what happens when copper gets water on it? It gets that nice patina.
Yeah,
it's not good for a product that you want to actually be able to sell.
Right.
So.
Look, you made Brooke cry.
I'm so sorry, Brooke.
Such a dick.
No, he didn't cry. He did cry, but then he
it's
blew me a kiss.
girl.
But then he blew me
It's
a
a
kiss.
girl.
Oh, sorry, Brooke. You're a girl.
Oh, like I said, who cares? Not about the crying, although really, honestly.
Any more questions from the chat?
I'm almost out of beer. Are we done yet?
Yeah, we're
almost
we're gonna let
end.
you go, John.
We are almost at the end.
Good.
This was awesome, and you've answered a lot of questions.
You guys have to help me make a photo book of my. Oh, also,
That'd be awesome.
Nobody knows this, or maybe they do. Some people do. Dawn knows this. Other people do know it. But I was an illegal immigrant in Japan. I had a spouse visa that said specifically, you are not allowed to work while living in Japan.
Oh, Look at that, John.
So mine was all pirated.
Yeah, I was running like a punk rock gallery. Yeah.
It's the best kind.
Yeah.
Best kind.
And now I'll never be able to go back to Japan again. I know that I've said
that aloud.
We should talk about real quick that we got you in our Kaiju Dunny series too.
Yeah,
which is oh shit! I just dropped everything. Which was a fun little thing that we did with Kid Robot a few years ago.
Where's the little woman? That was the best part of the whole thing.
She's around.
The little topless chick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in this case.
That's my claim to fame.
She's out.
The only person that made a titty toy for Kid Robot.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's true.
It's true. It's true. It was a lot of fun.
But it's really small, so it's harmless. Yeah.
I didn't notice. We just snuck it under the radar.
It's true.
It's true.
Before we go ahead.
Are we talking about the same thing?
Were you going to tell people how Kid Robot blocked me on Instagram?
Did they block you?
Oh, never mind. Years ago. Yeah.
What did you do?
Oh, it's convoluted.
It's convoluted.
Right,
what did you do?
Put him back in the hot seat and tell
convoluted.
us the story.
So somebody made a custom, and Kid Robot was doing some like custom show. And one of my customers commented on the picture of the custom, Jam Rampage, is this you? Because the custom looked a little bit like me. And I wrote, hell no, that's not me. And whoever is in charge of the Instagram social media presence for Kid Robot thought I was knocking the figure, as in like saying like I would have nothing to do with this. It's crap.
Right.
It was, but so they commented, we will not tolerate this negativity. And before I could even get back, be like, yo, I was just saying it's not me. He thinks it looks like me. They had blocked me.
Wow.
So, the Kid Robot, like this is like a week or less even after those Dunnies came out.
Oh my god!
So the Kid Robot person in charge of their social media had no fucking clue who I was, or that I had made a toy with them. Not even recently, but currently at that point.
Right.
And they blocked me on the Kid Robot Instagram account.
Are you still
blocked? It's not surprising.
I don't know. I've never looked at it. Like, I might still be blocked, but really, what does it matter?
Weird time.
But fuck Kid Robot anyway, because Medicom Toy apparently doesn't like Kid Robot and said, "Oh, sorry, you can't make a bear brick now because you made a dunny."
Really?
Yeah, but I know that's not actually true. But I think there's just some beef for sure.
Wow.
Is this new beef or old beef?
Beef. Give me the beef.
What beef?
No, but so wait. So what? Is this a new?
I'm just leaving that there. Just let people think what they want to think.
Yeah,
okay. All right.
Also mine. All right.
Okay.
Before we go, we want to talk about this
beautiful figure,
super special release that is happening tomorrow.
What dumb fuck made that?
I don't know.
Fuck no.
So this is.
Oh, John, you keep it real.
This will show you Instagram too, because there's a lot of you watching over there. This is a very special release that is happening on iamretro.com tomorrow. This is the Retro Bot, which is a Nintendo-inspired 5-ounce Cambot on honey body, designed by none other than CZ13 up there in the top.
You're pointing the wrong way.
I'm sculpted. No, I'm pointing the right way.
No.
I am.
Well, not for me.
Go backwards. He has one there in his hand. There it is. We can show you the details. It's got amazing Nintendo imagery in the background of the rust.
Yeah, inspired Nintendo stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not real Nintendo. It's Caesar's Nintendo.
They go after it.
Nintendo.
So yeah, we got the hoodie body on it. That was going to be the first hoodie body, but it took fucking ages to come out, so that wasn't. But it looks rad.
In my mind, I know it's still the first hoodie body.
Yeah, so that's cool.
First hoodie body people.
Got little sneaks on. He's got his little I Am Retro little Vans on, which is cool. We got little D-pads all over the hoodie, which are gloss on the mat. It's got the nice little white TV screen, not plugged in look. And yeah, the little rust patterns are all like digital and stuff. Yeah, and we got like inspired Nintendo little icons coming through and shit. So.
And it's all purple and grey, which was inspired by which one?
It's the North American Super Nintendo release.
There you go.
So that's the colours on them.
Yeah. So
Are
this
you allowed to use the word Nintendo?
No. This will be dropping tomorrow on iamretro.com.
It has nothing to do with Nintendo.
Nothing. But I am retro.
Just inspired by it, you know.
Inspired. Caesar's a gamer. It's inspired by his gaming.
Love of game.
Yeah.
It's a homage.
Love of the game.
Hi, Doldrin. Hi, everybody in the chat. Andy said Toy Community should be a sitcom. We were actually going to call this podcast Toy Drama Never Sleeps.
That was the original title.
That was the title, but then we decided.
There's no drama. What are you guys talking about?
No, everybody loves each other. It's a really happy, smiley community.
Well, that's not true. That's just a lie.
But... There's no drama, but that's a lie.
No, well, anyway.
Whatever, John.
We'll talk behind closed doors.
Exactly.
All right. Any final thoughts or comments?
Wishes
or questions?
Prayers, questions.
This show is fascinating. Like, I learned so much. My mind is thoroughly fucking blown. So thank you so much, John, for joining us, because like that was fucking great.
But I'm not a godfather or anything, really. Seriously, like the Paul Kaiju gets that title. If anybody in the States,
you're right. Fair. We're joking around. There's definitely, a very solid American software scene, and I hope that if you watch the show, we answer enough questions, because we're really good friends with John, and we are software collectors. So I feel like sometimes when we were talking, maybe we didn't explain the ins and outs of what we were really describing, because we've been in it for so long, because well,
it's like reading a paper written by an academic. If you don't already know something about the subject,
kind of, and
you're just going to be lost.
And also, we have history with Velocitron, and we have history with Maury, and we have history with some of the different people we're talking about. So we know who the characters in this play are. So I mean, I guess if you're interested in getting into Safubi, you have to just kind of jump in and start to learn and follow along. And hopefully we'll do another show like this soon, and bring more questions.
I do have one final thought for John. Is what advice would you give somebody that was just starting out?
Don't do it.
No, come on, John.
Okay, wait. What's so great about this question?
Are you bringing this full circle?
You understand why this is full circle, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You did that on purpose, yeah?
Yes.
Well, I'll give the exact same advice I gave on that stage.
You do ask that question at the end of every show.
Oh, okay.
But it's full circle for you.
If you look at the things that you love and the thing that you want to make doesn't live up to that level, then don't bother. If you think that what you're making is of interest and isn't a direct derivative of something that you love, then maybe you're onto something. But people stop fucking copying everybody else's stuff. It's boring. And it's just too much of it.
That's true.
Yeah. That was a really mature answer, John.
Was it?
Much more mature than the first time you
So,
answered
so your advice is make something original.
Make something original. Of course, you're going to be influenced. You're going to have ideas based on things you like. We all are. We all make things because we have a history and something we collect or something we love. So nothing's original, really. But make something that has value by itself without having to be a reference to something else.
Okay.
It-
Good tip.
you know,
Yeah.
if you make a a sludge monster with a cause head on it, what is that? It's a copy of old sludge monsters and a cause design. Valueless. So don't do that. And don't start off like that. If you already have a brand and you're well respected, you might get away with things a little bit more easily. And people might be like, oh, well, it's so-and-so's take on this idea. You come onto the scene and you're like, I made a toy. If your toy looks like somebody else's toy, you're going to get shat on.
Right.
So try not to do that. Like,
Good.
Right on.
That's a good advice. And then what would you say to somebody who is trying to make Sofubi?
Sofubi specifically,
Yeah.
my factories are busy enough. Fuck off.
There you go.
Thank you, John. That's it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Bravo.
All right.
So
All right,
this
that's a good
is-
place to end.
I don't think we're going to do a show next week, right? Because
No.
it's Christmas.
No.
Well, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
So this is going to be our last show of this season, like Alex was saying before. So we'll come back in January with season 2, where
Yes.
we'll make a new title graphic
Or
or
something.
something, and it'll be fun. And Alex will keep his theme tune for Toy Tank though.
Yeah,
Maybe he'll
can't
just
change
like add an extra line or something, but it's gonna just
That would be a good,
Continue to be awesome.
assignment for you, Alex, over the break, is think of a second line.
Yeah.
people
the
come
song.
just for the theme tune. You see in the comments, right?
That was my favorite part of the show.
Yeah, people
Hey,
come and they're
hey.
like, okay, where's the theme tune? So yeah,
Cool. I'll work
Yeah.
on it for sure.
awesome.
Toy song.
All right, well, thank you, John. We'd love to have you back at some point.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been real. Thanks to the replay crew. Comment below. We'll see you in January. Have a good holiday. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, CZ.
Bye,
Thank you,
toys. Love
Tanaka.
each
Thank
other.
you, John. Happy holidays, everyone.
Bye.